What's good, guys? Currently it's Tuesday. If you couldn't tell, I didn't just wake up, but I'm still in bed. Um, Wanted to talk a bit about the markets. Yesterday, I ended up losing money. I tweeted about it, and honestly, the reason was because I made money in the early market session, and then after class, closer to power hour, I took a few bad trades that just were not good reads, or like I said, avoidable and just unnecessary. We're seeing this kind of play out where we're rejecting here in pre-market. Okay, we had this very, very strong move. Obviously, a lot of DeepSeek news and whatnot. That gets bought up a bit. We end up kind of in pre-market yesterday pushing into the upper area of my zone, bouncing at 511. Like I said, 511 is a pretty key area on Qs, and then we just shoot up, and then we reject again right at around 518. We head right back to my demand zone again, 511, and then we kind of bounce. And this is exactly what happened today. I bought some calls here, and I sold for about 100% gain. Not a lot of contracts, not a huge gain, but again, we're trying to conserve capital here and just wait for the right move. So right now, I expect us to maybe grind a little higher and then probably reject, or just kind of just chop here. I don't expect us to break out of 518. That's what I'm saying. We might. If we do, I'll keep an eye on the markets, and I might take a trade if it looks favorable. But at the same time, like I said, I don't expect tech stocks to just be booming into earnings
The next day.
What's good, guys? It's currently Friday, January 31st. It's about an hour and 40 into market open. Thought I'd pick up the camera again, recap the week. Ended off on a really, really strong note, which I'm happy about. Had a few bumps, but we keep it pushing. So here's what I ended up swinging into open today, and we ended up getting a 200% gain, which is pretty solid. And it was basically based off of these comments that I made right here. So if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, give me a follow. I talk about a lot of good stuff, I think, and I think you'll benefit a lot. So ended up getting this really solid trade, and then now that I kind of got your attention, I'll kind of break it down. Hopefully you guys can pick up a few things and stick around for my explanations. So the last time I recorded was Tuesday, and on Tuesday I mentioned, I believe in the last clip, I mentioned that I went long and I cut early because it wasn't favorable to hold my longs, because on Tuesday we were still pre-FOMC and pre-tech earnings, so just a lot of uncertainty. I just expected volatility and indecision. Now on Tuesday we actually did get some pretty good directional movement, so maybe I was a bit wrong on that, but I don't think I was wrong overall. I think it was still a lot of choppy waters here. As you can see, I ended up cutting around 518. Well, why? Because this is where we gap down pre-market, and then we reject it, and if you back test this, 518 is a pretty key level. Now we ended up breaking above, rejecting at 519.43, and then retesting 518. Now this breakout and retest would have been a great entry to go long, which is exactly what I did again. So I re-entered long after the clip, after the prior clip, and then I ended up selling around 519.40. So obviously, I left a lot on the table here. We ended up actually pushing a lot higher. But again, I was just trying to play it safe. Just a lot of uncertainty there. So I'm happy with the gains I had on Tuesday. Now, Wednesday, I didn't have a good day. Wednesday was FOMC. I tell myself all the time, don't trade FOMC. It's just never really favorable. And, I kind of just shot myself in the leg right there. That's completely my fault. I took it on the chin, and that's fine. And I was able to bounce back. It wasn't a huge loss, just poor decision making. And I'm going to kind of go deeper into that. So as you can see here, we end up kind of just bleeding into FOMC. And then when we got FOMC, we kind of grinded a bit higher, I'd say. So Powell's remarks weren't anything significant, I would say. A lot of people actually perceived it as more hawkish and dovish. I generally disagree. I think that I listened into the conference, and it seemed like all he was mentioning was we've had two good prints leading into this conference. We've had a robust economy, and everything's pretty much in line, which is really all I needed to hear. I think when it comes to inflation, as long as we're not getting bad news, it's more or less good news, right? As long as we're in line and we don't deviate from this track of holding rates steady, cutting, and just maintaining the schedule, as long as we stay on track, the market's gonna perceive this well. That's what I think. Typically in the past, when we see rate cut cycles go into play, the only reason the market ends up dumping and going into a bear market is due to just poor timing. So timing is everything, and I think that we're on time right now. We're on track. Sorry about that. That was very loud. So yeah, I perceived it as generally bullish. Now I ended up, trading some calls, as you can imagine, and just a ton of chop, a ton of uncertainty. Now why? Because I personally believe there were just still earnings in play. Like I said, this week was huge because we had FOMC and tech earnings. So even though FOMC commenced on Wednesday, we gapped up slightly and then we ended up dumping down just due to the uncertainty of earnings. I think earnings play such a key role into market direction alongside macroeconomics and monetary policy. So we had a lot of chop on Thursday. Again, just not really favorable price action. As you can see, Wednesday and Thursday look pretty similar. Just kind of bouncing from 524 down to like 518 area, right? That's essentially where we were Wednesday, Thursday. Not a lot of direction, not a lot of favorable price action. And prior to Thursday's market close, I made this tweet. I mentioned technicals show that markets want to head higher. Why? Well, because we kind of have this U-shaped recovery, if you guys can see. And what I was targeting, hopefully you guys can see that. This is on my phone, so it's kind of small. But you can see that, we're basically right around here. And there's this gap we still need to fill. On Monday, we had a really sharp gap down, as you can see here. From here all the way down. Had a very strong gap down. And the entire week we've just kind of been grinding higher towards this gap fill area, which is exactly what I was targeting, around 528.60s area. And Wednesday and Thursday, although not very favorable price action, although just not a lot of movement, as you can see, the candlesticks are pretty bullish. I mean, this is Wednesday's candlestick, and this is Thursday's daily candlestick. So while they're both red, they're both bullish candles that point to the upside. And I just thought that, there was obviously a risk that Apple's earnings would be poor, but I think the setup and what the market wanted was to head higher based on these technicals right here. Now, I was, if you asked me earlier in the week, I would have told you I was bearish on Apple. The only reason I wasn't so much bearish in Apple was because there was just so much bad news boiled in. As you can see, we've dumped so much from the highs for Apple that I just thought that there was so much boiled in to Apple's earnings that it would be very hard to dump this even further. Like, all the bad news is essentially boiled in that they would really have to shit the bed to really just dump this market even further. So it looks like we actually retraced all the way back. So it was really a dud, as it always is, but we ended up gapping up, and that was really favorable for me. I think today is the price action that I was looking for on Wednesday, on Thursday. I was looking for a strong gap up. Why? Well, because like I said, I was overall just kind of bullish. We had good earnings overall, and the markets want to head higher. The only reason they didn't head higher earlier in the week is because of the indecision with earnings. But now with earnings commencing and FOMC, it seems like the markets have made their decision, made their mind. Now, I'm not saying we're going to head back to all-time highs now automatically, but I do think this setup is favorable to continue going higher. Obviously, there's a lot of key resistance coming up with prior all-time highs, as well as just a lot of resistance up in this 533 and up range for QQQ. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Again, I swung some calls into open, and I kind of sold around about 170% on these contracts, which ultimately ended up pretty good. I don't have too many comments about what's going to happen in the future, but like I said, I kind of made some remarks. This kind of looks like a U-shaped recovery, but there's a lot of resistance coming into play at close today and with next week coming around. So we're going to have to just keep cautious with that, and hopefully the markets are continuously favorable to us. With that being said, appreciate you guys for watching and keeping up with everything. If you guys can leave a like, that would be great. Leave a comment, please. If you guys are still watching right now, please leave a comment. We'll maybe talk about how your trading has been going, or what you guys want me to post about, etc. Names that you guys want me to look at. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.